We live, eat and breathe farmers. Growers are our business. Our mandate, our vision, our technology, our teams, and we have a team of about 3,000 people here in Africa, are all about how to help farmers or growers meet their potential. What do they want as growers? They want to improve their yields. They want to improve their incomes. They want to fulfill their dreams. They want to be successful at what they do. And we see ourselves as the farmer's partner. We have, as you say, a sizable research and development budget, so we're able to innovate and make products that solve problems that they have. How do they tackle pests and diseases? How do they have seeds that give them higher yields, that are able to adapt to increasing drought or, changing soil conditions? So we think of ourselves as not as providers of solutions for farmers, but we also know that it's not just about productivity today. So we think very much about how do you keep the farmers productive on their land 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So this whole issue of sustainability, this whole issue of safe use, this whole issue of how do you look after your land, that's also very much a part of our DNA. Seeing is believing. Farmers don't want to hear stories. They want to see it with their eyes. And so we spend a lot of time, and so do others in this space, working with them on their fields, doing trials on their farms so that they can see their practice vis-a-vis what you offer. What you offer, of course, comes from the market. They have to buy it, they have to invest. They have to make that choice whether it's worth the investment. And the only way they can make that choice is by comparing it with what they do. If their yield is 1.5 metric tons per hectare, as often is in most of the maize across Africa, and they're able to take a seed and put a bit of fertilizer and get 4 tons per hectare, then you'll be surprised at the rate of adoption. I mean, we've just heard from people, whether it's in Tanzania on seed potatoes, or it's in places like Kigoma in western Tanzania, when farmers see, then they adopt. Just the same way when the cell phone first came out in Africa and people saw, wow, it's so easy to communicate with my friends and relatives and business associates, and they jumped on the technology. We believe seeing is believing. One of our projects, for instance, we call it eShamba, where we're reaching over 220,000 farmers now in Kenya and in Tanzania. It gives a bit of an example of what can happen. Farmers are able to go onto their phones, and these are just normal feature phones, not even smartphones.
So USSD?
Yes, USSD. And download information through SMS on how to grow cabbages, how to grow potatoes, how to grow tomatoes, how to grow maize optimally. They're able, and we find that most of them do this in the evening after a long day's work, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We find most of the SMSs, probably about 40 to 50 SMSs per farmer, and where they, ask questions. What do I do for land preparation? What is my planting distance? When I see this insect and pest, what do I do? This is a medium that we find useful. But I also want to belie the feeling that agriculture is not transformative in its own self. Often the narrative has gone around that, farmers are poor, they don't have opportunity, there's growing hunger, there's multiplying population. But you know what? There's a revolution in agriculture taking place. Farmers are adopting new technology. Farmers are getting more linked to markets. As cities and towns grow, and as people's diets change, there is more and more demand for food products. Today, you will find that food is not cheap anymore in most of the cities. And that's a good signal for farmers, because it means there's a viable market. What we need to do is to see, how do we make that smoother? How do we take the blocks in the value chain, the inefficiencies in the value chain, from providing the seed and fertilizer right up to the factory where it is taken and processed into food? How do we make that smooth? How do we make it well financed, and the logistics and the transportation, so that the whole sector can rise? Here's an interesting fact as we talk about urbanization. There is also an aging population of farmers. The average age of a coffee farmer in East Africa is, 60 to 70 years old. The average age of a tea farmer is, around the same age. So even as we urbanize and young people move out of cities, You know, we really need to see how we can retain a cadre of young people interested in agriculture to grow for those business opportunities in the cities. Younger people tend to be more innovative, open to technology, more adventurous, ready to risk. We need that entrepreneurial ability and that hard work aptitude. And so urbanization is going to happen. As I said, it's going to send the right signals. There's going to be need for food. It's not going to be the same way it's done today. What do supermarkets want? They want to know that you can give a consistent and affordable price, that the quality is right, there's traceability, you can supply reliably, you're doing it in a safe way. So there's going to be a lot more knowledge-intensive type of agriculture, and all linked. So, as we were saying in the deliberations just prior to this interview, it's going to take a lot of people to make this happen, because our value chain is really about relationships between organizations and between people. For a dairy value chain to work well, everything from a bank to the cooling plants, to the transporters, to the packaging companies, to the supermarkets, to the whole cold chain has to work together. So dialogue is important, finding those areas of common interest, focusing on that value chain, and helping that farmer who is the primary business person, primary producer, to see reason why they should invest in their farm to feed these growing cities and towns. Well, as we all know, malaria is a blight to many parts of the world and to Africa for sure. And as Syngenta, as a technology company, we do have solutions that are approved by the WHO and distributed by one of our key partners. This is very effective technology for indoor residual spraying and also for mosquito nets. And we are pleased with the collaborations that we have. We know the impact has been great in improving health and in saving lives. And this is something that we're all looking to scale. I guess one of the major themes of the AGRF is, how do we scale? A lot of projects are going on, a lot of good intentions, a lot of good initiatives, a lot of good businesses, but really we want to see big transformative change. So whether it is the Vector project, or whether it is tomato growing, or whether it is maize for livestock and for people, we need to have us all, and especially governments in their funding and donors in their funding and banks and investors, to look at agriculture as investable, as bankable. And really scale. Let's move away from the hundreds of thousands and let's move to the millions of farmers. If you look at Asia, Latin America, Europe, no part of the world has ever transformed economically without transforming their agriculture. In Africa, where 65 to 80% of us live off the land, if those people have more spending power, more money in their pockets, they go to the towns and they buy more consumer goods, it's just an engine for growth and prosperity. So let's have this agricultural transformation. Let's have a real green revolution in Africa. And as Syngenta, we're very happy to be part of that story.